G'day everyone, Buck up in far north Queensland. Bit rainy. I'm in the shed doing another clip, and there is a reason I'm in the shed doing a clip, and it's because I'm about to put new tyres on the BT50. Yep, that dreaded time when you've got to fork out a couple of grand to put new tyres, new shoes on your four-wheel drive. Now listen, if you followed me in the old days, when I had, before the days of the BT50, everyone, the old Nissan Tyre 2, the T-Rex I used to call it, little Nissan four-wheel drive I used to own. I used to run a combination of all-terrains, and then I went to mud terrains on that, because back in those days I did a lot more four-wheel driving. I very rarely go four-wheel driving anymore, guys, like proper four-wheel driving. Those days are kind of, I wouldn't say they're gone, but I've wound right back on it, okay? Mainly because of the damage you do to your vehicle and all that type of stuff. More into the camping side of things now and going to nice destinations, and you know, if you've got to go on gravel roads and whatever to get there, fantastic. But my days of belting up rocks and all that are gone. I used to do that in the old Nissan, and it wasn't a bad little buggy, that thing. Now, I ran all terrains on that generally. When I first got it, for many of the years I had it, I ran all terrains, and the tyre I had on there was a Yokohama Geolander all-terrain. Very, very good tyre. I had a look at those again, and I'll tell you what, Yokohamas are not cheap, everyone. They are an expensive tyre, Japanese made, but they were a very, very good all-terrain tyre. Come unstuck in the mud once. I remember I got bogged down near the river, and it was belting down rain, the river started to flood. I had to leave the Nissan Tyre down by the riverbank, and I thought she'll be gone tomorrow morning. Luckily the river didn't flood. I got bogged, I couldn't get out, and I was on the all-terrains back then, and I thought, my God, I wish I had mud terrains on. I might have had a better chance of getting out. But on the road and dirt roads and all that type of stuff, the Yokohama Geolander all-terrains were a very, very good tyre, and still are a very good tyre. So I can vouch for the Yokies, everyone. After that incident, I remember I went out and I thought, I'm going to mud terrains, because I was still doing a lot of four-wheel driving back then. And I bought Maxxis Bighorns for it, which were quite an aggressive mud terrain tyre. And I'll tell you what, I didn't mind the Bighorns, and the Bighorns were also on my second dot trailer that Steve Fuller had. There was Maxxis Bighorns on there. I don't know if Maxxis still makes the Bighorns, everyone. I think they've gone to a Maxxis Razor. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Bighorns, they were a good mud tyre. Did the Creb track with it a few times, which is a pretty notorious slippery four-wheel drive track up near Cairns there, guys, up near the Daintree. So those Maxxis Bighorns were fantastic, and were a very, very good mud terrain tyre. Let's fast forward. I got the BT50, and when Roz and I got the BT50 second hand, guys, had about 50,000 on it when we got it, and there were BF Goodrich KO2s on there, which is the BF Goodrich all-terrain tyre. So the BT50 had KO2s on there, and they had 50,000 kilometres on them. I live in the wettest part of Australia, everyone, and I do a lot of highway driving down to Townsville to see Mum, up to Cairns and all that type of stuff. I do a lot of driving in the rain, belting rain, on the highway and around town too. I didn't rate the KO2s. The BF Goodrich all-terrains, the KO2s, I did not rate them, everyone. They wore out, and I thought, I'll go with new KO2s. I've got a second set of BF Goodrich KO2, which was the current all-terrain at the time. They've now got a KO3. So I went to the KO2s again, second set, didn't rate them. Aquaplaning badly on the highway, lots of aquaplaning. I remember we were down in Newcastle towing the caravan about 18 months ago, and we went to take off on a hill, and it just sat there spinning because of the weight of the caravan. I was on the blacktop, guys. I was taking off at a set of lights on a hill, not an overly steep hill, and the tyres were just spinning. And Roz goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "The tyres have got no grip in the rain." And we kind of made a decision then when I got home from that trip that these BFG KO2s are going, and I will never own another set again. I got talking to the BF Goodrich boys at the Perth 4-wheel drive show last year, I don't think they liked what I had to say. And I said, mate, I had 2 sets of KO2s, absolute shite. They were good off-road, they were good on gravel roads and all that. They're not a bad all-terrain tyre off-road, okay? And I did a lot of off-roading with them, 4-wheel driving and all that. They weren't bad off-road. But the majority of my driving is on the blacktop nowadays, guys, towing a caravan, and it rains up here. I'm in the wettest part of Australia. So I need a tyre that is good in the wet on the road. Let's face it, if you're going to come unstuck, that's the last place you want to do it, is on the blacktop doing 100k an hour, isn't it? So I got rid of them, and when I had the old T-Rex, everyone, I had 2 sets of BT50 rims, as you can see here. You're probably thinking, what's the BT50 sitting on at the moment? But I've got 2 sets of BT50 rims, everyone. And my idea back then, when I first got the BT, is what I'll have all terrains for day-to-day use. And if I want to go and do the Creb track or Cape York and that, I'm going to run mud terrains. So I went out and bought a set of BF Goodrich KO2 mud terrains. Sorry, KM2. KM2 were the mud terrains. KO was the all-terrain. So I got the BF Goodrich. Here's one here, actually. I've got it taken off the BT50. That's the BF Goodrich KM2 mud terrain, and that's what I'm currently running on the BT50. I found them better in the wet on the road than what the KO2s were, the all-terrains. Okay, these are about 50% now, and like any mud terrain, they're starting to wear down, they're starting to hum a little bit on the road. Not too bad, I must admit they are very good, the BFG KM2s. There's now a KM3 out, mud terrain. BF Goodrich, they're up to the KO3 all-terrain and the KM3 mud terrain. I can't say what the KM3s are like. They look like a good tyre, everyone. But it's come to the stage where these are starting to wear now, the mud terrains. And I'm going to talk about it soon. They're almost 10 years old. Now, they haven't been on the vehicle. I just take them on and off. When I was going to Cape York, I threw the mud terrains on. When I did the Creb track with Woodsy, I threw the mud terrains on. So when they weren't being used on the BT50, they were sitting in the shed, in the shade. Okay, so I didn't have them sitting out in the sun and light. They reckon you should never ever use a tyre that's over 10 years old, because they do break down with time. They do break down with time. I remember we had to throw a lot of Unimog tyres out in the army once. We went through and checked all the dates on them. I'll show you how to do that soon. We threw out, we returned to depot, hundreds of Unimog tyres. We had a massive vehicle fleet at 1 Sig Regiment, and we had to return a lot because they were out of date. They were out of that 10-year date line, which means they could be compromised. And the last thing you want is a blowout on a Unimog sitting on 85 kilometres an hour on the highway. These things here, starting to hum a little bit, not too bad, but when we're under 50 kilometres an hour, 40 kilometres an hour, coming up to stop at the traffic lights, and even Roz said the other day, the steering feels funny. It's the tyres, everyone. The tyres are, and I always rotated them, tried to get them to wear evenly and all that type of stuff, but they're getting to the stage now where they're just starting to feel a bit rough on the road. Okay, and I thought, nah, it's time. It's time to go and upgrade to new all-terrain. And I wasn't going to go back to the BF Goodrich. I'm not even going to give the BF Goodrich KO3s a go, guys. The tread pattern looks exactly the same. BF Goodrich was blowing wind up my ass at the 4-wheel drive show going, oh, we've done this and put little nicks in here. And at the end of the day, there was still no channel to spit the water out. I thought, nah, I'm not going to the BF Goodrich again. I'm not going to give them another chance. A while ago, I put a thing on Facebook and said, righto guys, I'm thinking of upgrading to all-terrain soon. What should I go to? Well, I had an overwhelming response, and people saying, Buck, go to the Falken Wildpeak, okay? AT3W or whatever, which is this one here, guys. And these got fitted yesterday at the Goodyear Centre here in Innisfail. I went to my local tyre shop here, tried to, rather than go to Cairns to Bob Jane or something, I tried to use my local guys. And I've got the Falken Wildpeaks. And for all you people out there who said, Buck, give the Falken Wildpeaks a go, well, I did. Marky Lavelle was one, I think Dan Allen was another one from memory, and a heap more people. and everyone who had the Falken Wildpeak said, Buck, they are a very, very good all-terrain tyre. And I thought, well, all I can do is give them a go. I can't comment on how good these are or how bad they are, everyone. I haven't put them on the BT50 yet, but there will be a review maybe in 12 months' time and let you know what I think of these. I can compare them to the Yokohama Geolanders. I can compare them to the BF KO2s when I finally do the review. Okay, so that was my choice, and you probably saw it from the bloody title of the video, that I've gone to a Falken Wildpeak all-terrain tyre. Going back to the all-terrains, guys. Now listen, what size did I get? The BT50s, my model, originally came out with 265, 65, 17s. When I went to the new KO2, my second set of KO2s, I thought I'll just go up the next size. So I went to a 265, 70, 17. You're probably going, Buck, what does that mean? If you're out there and you don't know what all these things mean on a tyre, I'm about to explain it to you. On the old T-Rex, I ran Imperial tyres on that one. I ran 31 by 10.5 by 15. What does that mean? Well, on the T-Rex, I had a 31-inch tyre. From the bottom to the top was 31 inches. 10.5 inches, that was the width of the tread pattern. Not out to the outer side walls, the width of the tread pattern. So I had a 31-inch diameter tyre, 10.5 tread pattern, 15. That was the size of the rim, a 15-inch rim, okay? The diameter of your rim was 15. So that's the imperial measurement of, you might get a tyre that's 33, so it's a 33-inch tyre. You always hear the people saying the 31s have got 33s on, or 35s are the big ones. 35-inch diameter by 12.5 by 16 or 17. So that's how they measure in the imperial side. A lot of our tyres are metric down here, and this one here, as I said, is a 265, 70, 17. So it's a bit confusing. We're using metric, but the rim sizes we still go by in imperial measurements. Mike Blakely will know what we're talking about there. So this Falken Wildpeak, and it's the same as the mud tyres here. This KM2 mud tyre was a 265, 70, 17. Okay, the BF Goodrich one here. So what does that mean? Well, 265 is the width of your tread. It's a bit like the 10.5 on the Imperial, okay, which was the second measurement. 265 millimeters across the tread, not to the side wall. The tread is 265 millimeters, or 26.5 centimeters, okay. What does the 65 or the 70, what does the next number mean there? 265, 70. The 70 refers to the height of your sidewall, guys. And as we know, when you go off-roading, being able to let your tyres down, you need to have a decent sidewall so that you can let air out of your tyres for sand driving, rock driving, general off-road driving, corrugated road driving, all that type of stuff. There's people out there with four-wheel drives and you see them with low-profile tyres. They're your soccer mums cars, guys. They're no good for off-road and low-profile tyres. You need a tyre with a decent, good strong sidewall and a high sidewall so that you can let some air out of the damn things when you're four-wheel driving. So what does the 70 mean? That means it is 70% of the width of that. So 265, 70. The profile there is 70%. So if I go 70% of the width of this, that's how big the sidewall is. 65, remember the old original tyres were 265, 65. The sidewalls were 65% of 265. Whatever that is, get your gonkulators out. So which means on there, the sidewall was not quite as large as the 70%. So the 70% of the width will give me a little bit extra sidewall, what do they call, aspect ratio or something like that. Just the height of your sidewall, everyone. So they're 265 millimetre wide, the tread pattern, 70% of 265, whatever that is in millimetres, that's the height of your sidewall. And then 17. This is where it refers back to the old imperial measurements. So the BT50s, my model, ran on a 17-inch rim. Why don't they do the rims in metric? I have no idea. If anyone knows, put it in the comments, because I have no idea. So we had the old, the imperial measurements, 31 by 10.5 by 15 on the T-Rex. That was all imperial in inches. This here's got a combination of millimetres and inches on the rim. We still refer to an 18-inch rim, 15-inch rim, 16-inch rim. A lot of your Toyotas take a 16-inch rim. So there you go. Now, 265, and you'll always see the size of the tyres on the sidewall, 265, 70, 17. That is the size tyre I run on my BT50. It's just a slightly larger sidewall than the standard one, okay? And I had a suspension lift, so when you have a suspension lift and you keep the standard size tyres on, they look a little bit small. So I just went slightly bigger, and you can go up to 25 mil extra here in Queensland, okay, on your tyres. 2 inches of lift and 1 inch of tyres gives you your 75 mil for any vehicle with ESC, electronic stability control, on there. Okay, so your maximum lift in Queensland is 3 inches basically, 2 inches of suspension and 1 inch bigger tyres, okay? So that's 1 inch overall. So there they are there, the Falken Wildpeak. Now, I can't comment on these, but one thing I've noticed of these over the KO2s, the BF Goodrich all-terrains, guys, these have got some sort of channel, 2 channels going around. Now, it's not perfectly straight like you get on a road terrain tyre, okay? But there is some sort of channel there, which is better for spitting the water out on the highway. The BF Goodrich had no channels whatsoever. It was saying, oh no, they're designed to spit it out the sides. Well, I found they aquaplaned badly, the BF Goodrich KO2s. I didn't like them, and that's why I didn't go for a third set. I had 2 sets, and I didn't like them. So I've gone with a Falken Wildpeak. I hope these ones are good. I've read some good reviews. I've been on YouTube. A lot of Americans, these are available in America as well, guys. I think they're up to the AT4 now. I don't think the AT4s have hit Australia. Every tyre they bring out seems to have another little improvement, but these got really, really good, they're always up there. When your best all-terrain tyre, go and watch some of the American stuff, and the Falken Wildpeak was always up there with the other brands, okay? Now, where's it made? Falken Wildpeaks are made in different places around the world. They've got factories. They've got factories in Japan. They've got factories in Brazil, in Thailand and China. I had a look on these tyres yesterday when I got them home, and these particular tyres here are out of the Thailand factory, guys. And as we know, Thailand's got their shit together with manufacturing now. All the dual cab utes and that we have here in Australia, most of them, are all built in Thailand. And Thailand have made this Falken Wildpeak tyre, okay? The BF Goodrich, that one's an American tyre, okay? So the BF Goodriches are out of the USA. I don't know if I'm correct in saying this, but I was always taught, oh, your best tyres will be out of the Yanks or the Japs make the best tyres. Well, Thailand's up there too, guys. And I know that there's a lot of tyres coming out of China now. And as we know with China, they're up in their game, and a lot of stuff coming out of China, they're getting some good tyres as well. I think my Dot trailer, they put Chinese tyres on that, and they seem pretty good. So anyway, there they go, the Falken Wildpeak. Now, I mentioned tyre life before, guys. If you Google it, they say you should never run a tyre that's more than 10 years old. That will decrease depending on what sort of life that tyre's had. If it's been sitting on the back of your four-wheel drive in the sun, out in the sun for years, then no way that's going to go anywhere close to 10 years, okay? These things have been looked after. They haven't been on the BT50 for 10 years. They've been in the shed, and I only put them on when I need them. They've been in the shade, but they are getting close to 10 years old, everyone. And if you want to know how to tell how old your tyres are, you've got to look hard. but there's a thing on the tyres and it's got DOT, D-O-T, and then a heap of numbers. And then somewhere there, and on here, it's got DOT, blah, blah, blah. All these numbers don't mean much to me. But at the end, it's got 4 numbers, 25, 24. This is on the Falken Wildpeaks. So these are brand new for me, but they're not brand new. They weren't made yesterday, okay? 25, 24. Look for a number similar to that. The last number, 24, is the year of manufacturing, yeah. So these things were manufactured in Thailand last year. 25, 24 was the 25th week of 2024. 25, 24. So these tyres were manufactured about halfway through last year, okay, 2024 in Thailand. Now, so I've got plenty of, they're still pretty well brand new. Well, they are brand new, but their manufacture date is not brand new. This one here, if I look on the my old mud terrains, my BF Goodrich KM2s, and I'm just looking for the DO, look for DOT, everyone. It'll be on the other side. That's the inside of the tyre. There'll be a DOT. Here it is. It's got DOT. There's a lot of writing on the side of a tyre. It's like reading a book. DOT, blah, blah, blah. 4615. So these mud terrain tyres, as soon as I saw 15, I thought, uh-oh, these things are nearly 10 years old, which is another reason I wanted to replace them. They're getting close to their maximum 10-year lifespan, okay? Depending on, that will reduce, depending on the life I've looked after these tyres, I've rotated them. They're about 50% still. I've been running them, but at the end of the day, I don't want to be sitting on 100k an hour going down to Townsville and I have a blowout because these tyres are 10 years old. I could probably still put these on the BT50 and go and do the Creb track. There's still enough in there, but I like to do my own tyre rotations every 5,000, so I need a second set of tyres so that I can rotate these ones, okay? And you've seen me do it on another clip. So these things will sit in the shed now, these old mud tyres, on the second set of BT50 rims, which I got off Facebook Marketplace. Someone was getting rid of them, so I thought I'll grab them. So I've got 8 all up. And these will sit in here so I can rotate my tyres. I need other tyres to put on. Be nice to have a hoist or something in the shed, wouldn't it? But I haven't got one. And I can't afford one. So there you go. There's the... Look, oh, did I mention this one, 4615. So these BFG KM2 mud terrains were manufactured in the United States in the 46th week of 2015. So they, towards the end of this year, these things will be 10 years old. Yes, I could still use them, and right up until yesterday I was still using them. And as I said, they don't feel real smooth on the road. Once I get over 50 k's, you don't know. But when I'm coming up to the traffic lights, they're starting to wear down to about 50%, getting a little bit noisier, and they just don't feel smooth on the road, guys. They don't feel smooth. And as we know, all-terrain tyres, there's pros and cons for having all-terrain over mud terrain. All-terrains, that's what they're for. They're for all-terrains. Road, gravel, mud. I could go to Cape York with these quite easily. Where all-terrains are not as good as mud terrains is in the mud, obviously, okay? And I've been in that situation where I had the Yokohama all-terrains on the old T-Rex and I could not get out. I could not get out of the bog. I had my tyres down to about 5 psi. I could not get out, and I was there going, oh, I wish I had mud terrains, because the all-terrains got a smaller gaps between the treads. The mud gets in there and they end up being slicks in the mud, okay? Whereas the mud terrain's got a bigger gaps and it can flick the mud out better. If you watch Ronnie Dale's channel, Ronnie says mud terrains are better on the rocks. If you let the tyres down, you've got better grip on the rocks and that, and I understand that. Where are the all-terrains better? Well, obviously they're better on the road, aren't they? They're better on the road. They're probably just as good on the gravel. One thing I've found on gravelly roads with the mud terrains is they flick up a lot more rocks, guys. Driving along, we were going out the Cobalt Gorge once, and all I could hear was bloody rocks going ting ting like these tyres flicking the rocks up, and they flick the rocks up a lot more than what an all-terrain do. So the all-terrain's definitely better on road, and they're also better in the sand, guys, okay? all-terrains would be better on Fraser Island than what a mud terrain would be. But in the sand, your best friend is tyre pressures there, not so much the tread pattern. But I've read that all-terrains, if I was going on Fraser Island and I had a choice of, was I going to run these or these, I'd run the all-terrains every day of the week going over to Fraser Island. Okay, I'd still go to Cape York with these. They're quite capable. The other thing you've got to look for, guys, when you get a tyre is make sure it's got LT before it. LT, light truck, which means it's a lot heavier construction. The other letter you might see in there is before the rim size, it'll have an R17. It means it's a radial tyre. I'm not quite sure what other tyres there are, but a radial tyre, you got steel and Kevlar belts and all that type of stuff. So it's a radial tyre, which most of your tyres are, okay. Anyway, so there you go. There are the Falken Wildpeaks. They're not a bad looking tyre. I like the tread pattern on there. A lot of the all-terrains have got there. The tyre shop tried to talk me into getting the KO3 BF Goodrich, and I said, no, I'm not going BF Goodrich again. I'm not doing it. I'm not going BF. I want to try something different. The Yokies, I like them, but they were very, very expensive. They were nearly 500 bucks a tyre. What did I pay for 5 tyres, everyone? Well, I'm on a Veteran Affairs Gold card, so I don't pay GST on brand new car parts, including tyres. So I got 5 tyres fitted, not fitted, sorry, balanced freight. They'd freight them up from Townsville for me, so a little bit of freight and balanced and fitted onto the rims, not fitted onto the vehicle. So it was $2,050 for 5 tyres, which isn't too bad. Would have cost me a lot more if I didn't get GST free, and luckily for me, I'm in a situation now where I've got a gold card and I get GST free on my car tyre, so I was very lucky there. So I paid $2,050 for 5 tyres. Now I had the other drama there of, do I use one of my 4 spare BT50 rims as the spare? And I thought that'd be good, and then I do a 5 tyre rotation. Okay, so I thought, do I do a 5 tyre rotation or do I do a 4 tyre rotation? Anyway, I decided behind me here is the original steel rim that the BT50 come with. So I've got a brand new all-terrain tyre. I've used the steel rim there, okay, and that will go up as my spare, and I'm going to stick to doing a 4 tyre rotation. I could have used, if I used one of the other BT50 rims, one of my spare set, as the spare, that would have been great, so I can do a 5 tyre rotation. But then, down the track, if I did want to go, hey, you know what, I'm going to Cape York, I'm going to be doing this and that, maybe I want to go and buy some new mud terrain tyres. I've still got the 4 spare ones here, so I can go and get some new mud terrain tyres and run all terrains and mud terrain. So if you're in that situation, guys, and you can get your hands on a second set of rims and you love going 4-wheel driving, but you also do a lot of road driving, maybe that's an option for you. Get a second set of rims and then run your all terrains and your mud terrains and alternate them on, depending on what type of trip you do. Obviously you come into dollars there, don't you? I took the plunge there years ago, and as I said, these are nearly 10. I didn't realise. I thought, geez, it must be getting close to 10 years. Well, it is. At the end of this year, these things will be 10 years old. So if I still need to run these, because I know they've been in the shade, they've been well looked after, I could still run these if I wanted to. The other 3 are still on the beat. They're about to come off, and these are about to go on. Anyway, if I think of anything else while I'm putting these on, I'll let you know, and I'll come back at the end, okay, and let you know. I think I've covered everything I need to cover. There's other numbers on here, like your load rating, and then there's another one, S, and that's your speed rating and all that. And then you've got to go on to Google, look at the chart. I think these have got S on there, and it's rated to a maximum 180 kilometres an hour. Well, I don't think the BT would even do 180, and I certainly wouldn't be driving that fast. So that's your maximum speed rating. So your tyres will have a load rating and a speed rating as well. Your tyre shops aren't going to fit a tyre onto your 4-wheel drive. You'll find most of your 4-wheel drive tyres, the load rating will be fine and your speed rating, and 4-wheel drives aren't designed for speed anyway, are they? So we're never going to go anywhere near the maximum speed rating of whatever your tyre is at. But be aware that it is on these tyres along with a lot of other information. So I'm going to work a sweat up now. I'm going to throw one on. I'm going to replace all four. I'm going to put the steel rim under as my spare, and I'll let you know in 12 months time what the old bloody Falken Wildpeak tyres are like, okay? They're not a bad looking tyre, and they've got good reviews, and to the people who recommended them, thank you. I'm sure they'll be a fantastic tyre. They certainly look good. I'll soon let you know. I will know driving on these wet roads here whether they're better than the KO2s, and they can't be much worse in the wet. Those tyres, BF Goodrich, if you're watching, your KO2s were absolute shite on the blacktop in the wet, and I'm not the only one to say that. I've seen a lot of other people say the same thing. Anyway, going to book him in for a wheel alignment. Once I get the new all-terrains on, I'm going to get the BT50 in for an actual wheel alignment, and I'll be good to go. So anyway, I'll come back once these are on, eh? Beauty. Hey, I said if I forgot anything, I'd come back, and I just remembered something. Tyre pressures, guys. What do I run in my tyres? Well, I had three magic numbers: 38, 28 and 18. The reason I go 18 for off-roading and Fraser Island and sand and that is the Storm tyre deflators are preset to 18, so it's a very popular pressure to go to if you're doing some pretty decent four-wheel driving. Soft sand, rocks, mud, all that type of stuff. I always used to drop to 18 when I was doing some, you know, full-on four-wheel driving. Sometimes you might have to go lower. Where's the 38? That was your highway pressures. 28, corrugated roads. And I've done Cape York 4 times now, guys, and let me tell you, going from 38 to 28, taking 10 PSI out of your tyres makes a massive difference when you're on corrugations. It really smooths the ride down. Okay, it makes a difference. If you're on corrugated roads and you're going to be on them for a long time, drop 10 PSI out of your tyres. It makes a huge difference, it really does. So 38 highway, 28 corrugated roads, and 18 off-road. That's just a general guide anyway. Now, I got these tyres yesterday and I checked the tyre pressures, and the tyre shop put in 40 PSI, which is fine, 38 or 40. 2 PSI is neither here nor there. Okay, when you're up that high anyway. So the tyres will be running 40 PSI on the highway, and I checked the spare one on the steel rim, and that was on 42, and that's exactly what I do. I always like to run a couple of extra PSI on my spare tyre, okay, because let's face it, we don't check the spare tyre especially on the BT50. I got to wind the bloody thing down. It's a pain in the ass. I got to wind it down and drag it out to check the tyre press. It's all right when it's on the back of your barn doors or whatever, but I got to wind mine down, so I don't check it as much as I do with my normal tyre. So I throw a couple of extra PSI in there. If you have not checked your spare tyres pressure for a long time, do it, because if you get a flat and you pull over in the middle of nowhere and your spare's sitting on about 5 PSI, you're going to be kicking yourself. So always check your tyre pressures. I put a couple extra. Well, the tyre shop did too. They put 42 in the spare one, and they must think the way I do. All right, thought I'd let you know. Righto, so I'm just putting the first tyre on here, everyone. Couple of tips if you're doing your own tyres, and I've said this on another clip, but I'll run through it again now. Before I jack and I don't have any bloody, I need to get some jack things underneath, so when I do jack the vehicle up, I can put the bloody, the stands underneath, okay, just for some extra safety. So I don't have those. I should go to Super Cheap and buy some actually, and a couple of jack stands. Before I jacked it up, you crack the wheel nuts. You loosen your wheel nuts off before you jack it up, okay? Jack it up, take it off. Now when you put your wheel nuts back on, don't use a rattle gun. I like to do my own tyres. Probably thinking, why didn't you get the tyre shop to do it, Buck? Because they always strip my wheel things there. So when you're putting your tyre back on, everyone, just always start your wheel nuts like this. Always go opposite there. Start them off by hand. Some of these tyre shops, they just put them on the round and on the old Nissan Terrano, once they stripped about 3 of my wheel studs. Pissed me off too, I tell you, just quietly, because I had to go and get them all tap and dyed and all that type of stuff. My mechanic had to fix up their problems. So they don't give a shit. They're trying to get the job done as quick as they can. So when I was Brad Howell's Ultra Tune down in Maitland, his sons are the mechanics there, and this is how they do it. So what we can do now is start them off, and then I'll just use the wheel brace now. Always go opposite. Go top, bottom, always go diagonal, okay? Just going to nip them up a little bit, everyone. Give them a quick nip up, we're not doing them right up. Okay. Just give them a little nip up so I can put the jack down now. Now what I can do is I can lower it down, and then with my torque wrench, okay, is torque them up to the thing. I use 140 Newton meters. Don't ask me what that is in foot pounds. Kenny Hop said the other day, how many foot pounds do you use? I said, I don't know, I work in Newton meters, mate. So 140 Newton meters. So try, and when you're doing your wheel nuts, everyone, use a torque wrench. That was a good trick. They're not that dear. You can get them from Super Cheap Auto. Get your torque wrench, find out how many Newton meters, adjust it down here, and that's what you do your wheel nuts at. So I'll lower that down now, and I'll go around, okay, doing diagonal, and I'll make sure they're all torqued up. Come back when they're all on. So if you did, I hope you learned something out there. If you do your own tyres and all that type of stuff, that's the procedure to do it. Always go diagonal. Okie doke. So torque them up, and in 50 or 100 kilometres, you know, a couple of days after you've been driving around a bit, or if you're going on a big trip, guys, when you pull over for your first 2-hour break, get your torque wrench out and double check them, okay? Once your wheels have been off and you've been stuffing around with your wheel nuts, you make sure you check them a short time after. So if I was going to Townsville now, I'd probably pull over at Carball for a pie, and I check my wheel nuts again, okay? Very important you do that, okay? And I'll do all the other 3 now, and I'll go around and use the wheel brace, and I always double check my work. Sometimes triple check it. Wheel nuts, they're one thing you don't want to stuff around with. Always double check your work, guys. Anyway, I'm going to keep going here. Put the other 3 on, put the spare on. There they are there. The Falken Wildpeaks. I'll come back in 12 months. Do a review and let you know how they go. I know Marky Lavelle said, Buck, really happy with my Falken Wildpeaks, and he's going to his 2nd set, I think, in about 3,000 kilometres time, but he's been really, really happy. I think Dan Allen and a heap of other people said Falken Wildpeaks, and that's why I went with them, guys, because of your recommendation out there. If I'm here in 12 months time cursing yous all, you know I didn't like them, but I'm sure I will. I'm sure they'll be fantastic tyres. They've got some good reviews out there. So everyone who commented when I put that post up, what should I go with, and mention Falken Wildpeaks, that's exactly what I'm putting on. Thanks, guys. Take care. Be good to each other. Hope you learned something today. If I've said anything incorrect, Brad Howell, I'm sure Brad will contact me and say, Buck, you were wrong on that, and I'll correct myself. But I'm no expert, everyone, but you know, I know the basics and all that type of stuff. I think everything I've told you here today has been correct. But if you're not sure, always speak to your professionals at your local tyre shop. Catch you later. See you next time.